Buongiorno. Mark my words, Mel. Early by Christmas.
Even now, less than a score of years after the World War,
Hostilities exist. There is no blinking at the fact.
we shall never surrender!
This is the Militaria Podcast, brought to you by your friends at Queen City Militaria, Wehrmacht Militaria, and SMG War Relics.
I think I'm like the Führerbunker fucking DJ. I look great.
Führerbunker.
The Führerbunker. Yeah, oh, yeah.
2-for-1 Jaeger bombs. Yeah.
That's so good.
Boys, we're back. We're back for our monthly roundup. Welcome to the Militaria Podcast. My name is Joshua Doda. I run Queen City Militaria, and I'm joined this month and every month by my friend Dante Gambino of SMG War Relics.
Yeah, Führerbunker.
Yeah, Führerbunker. And Billy Kramer of WehrmachtMilitaria.com.
I have my microphone now, so I don't sound like I'm in a metal tank. So this is an exciting day for everybody.
Oh man, we are so happy as a collective. And the viewers are happy. It's a great time in our
We've
podcast.
gotten so many comments about this over the past few months, or people are like, what's going on with Billy's sound? Why does Billy sound like he's in a trash can underwater? We just had to move the microphone closer.
Yeah, it's
like
the
a whole
same
new
microphone.
guy.
It's the same exact one. I just didn't know where to put it, so I apologize. That's what she said.
Oh my gosh. So anyway, guys, how are we doing? Dante, let's start with you, man. What's new in your neck of the woods? I see you got a cool hat.
Oh yeah, I'm just rocking my pickle Hauben. Fucking busy, man. Doing a lot of shit with the kids as usual. Business is busy, picking up again, and May is like if you have kids in school, they call it like Mayvember, I think is like the coinage for it, like the term, just because of how busy you are with school sports, plays, graduations, just all kinds of stuff going on top of your regular routines. So it's just extremely, extremely busy time right now.
So this week, what did you have to do?
This week, I had to drive an hour away to take my older daughter to practice at the beach in Ocean City and to take photographs there for her team. Meanwhile,
what is she practicing at the beach?
Lacrosse, girls lacrosse. Yeah.
Okay.
So I had to do that. I had to drive. Just got back from the high school girls game, which was they're in the championships. So now they're going to go to the finals. Cape Henlopen, they're very good, and they'll be taking home the final. They'll be taking home the championship this year on Saturday. I think I'm pretty confident.
Dude, bringing that trophy.
But then
home.
we're talking about dentist appointments this week, orthodontist appointments, regular doctor appointments. Picking up the kids from the bus. Running back and forth. This one forgot their iPad. You got to drop them off at school, or they missed the bus, and dude, it's just fucking crazy. It's crazy.
It does sound kind of hectic, dude. The doctor is important. I just signed up to get a new PCP today. It's been the first time I've had a doctor in like 10 years.
Well, yeah. Well, shit. You know what's funny? In Delaware, the doctor situation's a joke because everyone's moving here, so you can't find a primary care at all. And if you do, it's just insane. But I call up and they're like, yeah, we can make an appointment for your annual checkup in July. I'm like, well, I guess I'll take it. It's because of a cancellation. That's all we have at 7:30 in the fucking morning.
July, dude, I would be counting my lucky stars. When I had to schedule my appointment today, it was October.
Dude, well, yeah. Then they're like, well, September's the next one after this if you don't take this one. And I'm like, bro, what time does this guy work? He works 7 to 11 and he's done. Like, what the fuck kind of hours are those? It's insane.
Dude, I wish it was my hours. Bill, what's new with you, buddy? How was your day? What have you been up to?
I don't know. Do you have the Shelby Neon to show everybody?
Yeah. I can conjure it up real quick.
So I'm building my dream house, and I have this awesome Shelby Neon, and I take it out of the. You can see it's crated, and it's like 4 feet tall. It's badass. It's fucking huge, and it's dual. It's a top half and a bottom half, right? So I go and the bottom half glows up and it's like amazing and lights up the entire garage. And this is after Jeremy and I put this thing on the fucking wall because I thought it worked. Last time I checked it, it worked. And guess what did not work? The top half of this thing did not work. So yeah, this thing is not easy to put onto a wall. Like this thing, it just sucked. But we got it up and it looked awesome. And so anyway, it doesn't work, the top half, and it's just like debilitating. You're just like, oh, so just bummed. So anyway, there was two people I could get a hold of, and one guy was in Canada. The other guy was actually just about an hour and a half south of me. And he's like, "Oh, I can come up." He's like, "I'm going through there anyway. I'll just stop by and test it." I'm like, "That's the best customer service ever." I'm like, "Yeah, come on over."
Yeah.
Man.
Shit,
So he comes in, he's like, "Oh, this bulb is bad." He's like, "That's no big deal, $50." And I'm like, "Bro, I have $50. Like, let's do this. Like, I can fix this thing." You know what I mean?
$50.
Well, you know what I'm saying?
$50 is not bad, dude.
No, and dude, look at that thing. It looks like it would be very, very expensive to fix that thing.
That's
You know
what
what
I
I'm
was
saying?
thinking.
So anyway, I meet the guy again today. He's got my bulb. I give him his $50, and I block traffic for him, and he's backing in his trailer and everything. I get home, and I go to install the bulb, and I install it, and it works. And then guess what? I broke 2 more bulbs.
Oh no.
So now and the guy's like, "Why don't you just bring it to me and I'll do it?" And I'm like, "No, I can do this." It was stupid how it happened. I explained it. I'm like, "No, you just need to go get me different bulbs." But so the long story short is that I don't have my Shelby Neon still, and it's just driving me nuts that I don't have this thing on my wall. And that was my day. That was the start of my day.
Would
So
you
can
say
you-
you're the kind of guy that like has to break something to figure out how it works?
No, I would just say I'm the kind of guy that when I go to fix something, something else breaks. Historically speaking, I don't
Too
need
much
it to
raw
break. It just
power.
fucking it just happens. It's just
So just order the bulbs off Amazon, bro.
no, you can't. I mean, it's obviously it's the custom, Shelby, like it's a design. It's not just like a light bulb.
This is primo shit, Dante. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no,
gotta
if you
order
look at-
this
if you look
custom,
at it,
bud.
if you look at it, like the snake's teeth is its own light bulb. I don't think you can go on Amazon and type in Shelby snake teeth neon LED bulb, or you know what I mean. They're not going to have that. It's very specialized. So.
Oh, I thought it was just like some component in the back. You could just
No,
order the component.
no, this is a true neon, like hand glass blown bulb. So that's
So
funny.
where's that going to go in the house?
That's in the garage, and it's like my car's going to be, obviously my Shelby's going to be underneath it. Well, and it's going to be on the wall. So that will be in the garage, and that's my story.
Nice, man. Well, I mean, I hope you get your sign troubles, resolved quickly.
I do have a lot of sign troubles, but everything else has been, kemosabe, bro.
Well, Josh, we've heard from everyone else. What have you been up to, buddy?
Oh man, I haven't been doing too much lately, but I'll tell you, I've been making a lot of pasta. I've never been a huge pasta guy. This is like a big moment of personal growth for me. I've always been like, pasta, whatever, like not my thing if it's a filler meal. And then recently I was like, I bet I could make a pretty decent pasta. Me and Carmen went to a couple Italian restaurants, and I was like, I could probably pull this off at home.
Spaghetti
So I've
dinner,
been
actually, really.
Dude, hey, she loves the pasta right now, so I think it's a firm win. I'm happy about it. And aside from that, this week I was just telling you guys a second ago, I got a whole bunch of Chinese flags in the mail, something I don't know anything about, so I've had to research a bunch of Chinese flags, and I spent today putting them on the website, and a couple North Korean flags, and just chewing away on some inventory updates, you know what I'm saying?
Nice.
You sound a little down, like you've eaten too much pasta or something. Are you in a pasta coma, you'd say?
My pasta coma? No, dude. I though I am making a lot of pasta, I'm still like kind of casually enjoying it. I'm not like a big pasta guy from way back. Like I'm just like, oh, I'll have a bowl here and there. You know what I'm saying? I'm not eating half the tray by myself in one sitting. But just wait. Maybe that's coming.
This gets progressively worse the more pasta you consume.
It does. It does. So, guys, Mother's Day was this past month. You probably remember. You probably heard about it. Somebody said, hey, it's Mother's Day. And you were like, oh, shit. I understand. I'm in the same position almost every year. And we had talked around Mother's Day about doing an episode on the Mother's Cross. But then you know what happened?
Life.
Dante's YouTube channel got deleted, actually,
that
is
took
what happened.
precedence. Yeah, that took
And we were like, well, that's topical. Let's discuss that, right? That's something that's going on. And we got a lot of feedback on that one about other channels that people had been following that got deleted as well. And, I think it's important to give people a space to vent about like, why the fuck is this happening? But today, better late than never, we're going to do a little talking about the Mother's Cross because I think it's a pretty, it's an award that everyone's seen and it's something that everybody's familiar with, but there are some finer points to it that are kind of interesting and there's some mystery to it too that we can get into. So
Without further ado,
let's talk about the Mother's Cross. So the Cross of Honor of the German Mother, commonly referred to as the Mother's Cross, was established on December 16th, 1938, in recognition of German mothers who displayed exemplary motherhood and raised several children. While initially only for German mothers, it was eventually awarded to Volksdeutsche mothers in annexed territories like Austria and the Sudetenland. In the preamble of the statutory decree, Hitler declared, as a visible sign of gratitude of the German nation to children-rich mothers, I established this cross of honor. Mother's crosses were awarded annually on the second Sunday in May, which is Mother's Day, and the first Mother's crosses were awarded in 1939. So, interesting tidbit, it was established in 1938, but obviously it was in December, so they had to wait a few months before any of them could get handed out. And then when they did hand them out for the first time, fun fact, there were so many women eligible that they ended up restricting it to mothers over 60 in 1939. And it wasn't until 1940 that mothers under 60 would be awarded the Mother's Cross. The practice of awarding Mother's Crosses eventually expanded to include award ceremonies taking place during national celebratory events and holidays. The Mother's Cross was awarded in 3 classes and maybe in a secret 4th class, which we'll talk about in a second. But generally speaking, the award criteria is that mothers with 4 or 5 children earn themselves a bronze medal, 6 or 7 children bumped you up to a silver medal, and if you had 8 or more kids, you were awarded the Mother's Cross in gold.
All right, so I'm going to interject here because I don't believe it. That's what I'm going to say. That's my official position. I believe these numbers are inflated.
I'll tell you what, the silver is, in my opinion, the hardest one to find.
I'm actually surprised that you think that there was a lack of mothers in Germany.
No,
but
I think there was
kids.
plenty of mothers, but I don't think as many golds as we see out there, as common as they are, I just don't think there was that many mothers that had that many kids. So I think they're including grandkids personally. That's my opinion.
That's an interesting theory.
Prove me wrong.
That's a hot take, man.
Prove me wrong.
I certainly think that, so you're saying a woman that had 3 children is not eligible? She had to have 5 to get a bronze or something?
That's what it says. That's what it
Oh,
says.
man.
I
There's
know
actually,
that's what it says.
there's more to it than just how many kids you have.
You're just interrupting Josh again, so
No, you're good. You're good. But that's one of the misconceptions is like, oh, you had 4 kids. Here's your state medal. Like, get out of here, dude. You're fine. Get out. Like, go have
Don't
fun
call her
with your
dude.
new piece of
Have
jewelry.
some respect
Don't
for the
call the
Deutsche
German
Mutter.
mother, dude.
Yes. Deutsche Mutter, please.
German mother. That's not the honor that she deserves. But no, it was a very stringent process to actually be eligible for it. So while the award criteria we talked about earlier sounds pretty straightforward, there was a lengthy process for nomination and for the award. At the beginning of each month, a collective recommendation for awarding was sent to Berlin, and this recommendation could be made by one of 3 people: your local mayor, your local NSDAP Ortsgruppenleiter, or a district warden of the RDK. The nomination process was exhaustive, with the mother and the grandparents being observed and studied thoroughly, so thoroughly, in fact, that bureaucratic resources which had been assigned to other civil and military decorations were actually reassigned to deal with the Mother's Cross. And when other civil awards were suspended during World War II, the Mother's Cross continued to be awarded because its original purpose of making more Germans was now that much more important. So aside from the number of children that a mother had, her eligibility was dependent on a few other factors. 1, both parents needed to have German blood and good genetics. So a signed declaration of German blood heredity had to be provided by the mother. The 4 grandparents must not be of Jewish or foreign ethnic origin, nor can the grandparents have practiced Judaism. So if you were just like dabbling, that excludes. You can't, you're just trying it out. Yeah, you're like, hey, you know what? I want to know what's going on at the temple.
Like, you couldn't have just put a yarmulke on for a hot second. You would have been excluded.
No, yeah, it wouldn't. That doesn't work. They'd find it.
Damn,
and
temple
be like,
looks
sorry,
hopping
buddy.
tonight. Let's go on in there and check it out.
I'm curious. Yeah. Well, good luck, dude. Yeah, your kid can't get a Mother's Cross. So the second thing that would have to be determined when they're making these recommendations is the mother has to be deemed worthy, which is a weird way to say it. But worthy in this case is determined by the mother being of reputable moral standing, genetically healthy, and genetically fit. The mother must have no history of incarceration, no marital infidelity, no unlawful abortion, or offenses deemed as taboo.
So no prostitutes is what it's saying.
That literally the next thing I had here is taboo offenses included things like prostitution, promiscuous behavior, and interracial relationships.
Oh, okay.
In addition to these things that we're talking about with the mother, the husband also can have no history of incarceration. The family must not be having children just to receive state assistance, and they can't be a burden on state social welfare programs, and none of the family members can be alcoholics.
Interesting.
Which is interesting for Germany, because obviously that alcohol is such a common theme.
Yeah, but you got to be able to handle it. You can't be making a mess at Oktoberfest, dude. You go on Oktoberfest, you better come correct. So if discrepancies were found and eligibility was denied, this had a profound negative impact on the family. A family who was regarded as dysfunctional was also viewed as a threat to the nation. And mayor's offices, when making the recommendation, were actually encouraged to consider whether the mother in question had raised children who were likely to bear sacrifices to preserve the German state, or whether they posed a burden to the German state. And in the case of the latter, offices were to consider whether it would be better that those children had never been born at all.
Wow.
So your mayor, your local government, always the most competent people that you've ever met in your entire life, have to decide whether or not your child is going to be the kind of child that will die for the country, or possibly are they a complete mistake? Local bureaucracy decides. And in addition to those two things, which are relatively complicated, the third stipulation is that all the children had to have been live births.
Oh, so no stillbirths and no abortions and stuff like that.
Well, I mean, they have to survive. Yeah. But I think also like the birth itself, I think the process has to be without complication.
Okay. But it doesn't. Okay. So if the baby dies a month later, that still counts. That's a check in the win column.
I don't have the exact number, but I do think there has to be some amount of survival. They have to reach a certain age to be like, you're a productive member of society.
But see, I mean, here's my problem with this whole award is that because there's so many moving parts, I think there's a lot of opportunity for the numbers to get fudged and kind of embellished and just kind of, tweaked. It's like, oh, well, you had two kids that didn't live, right? They died, in the 20s. Yeah. You remember those kids? Oh, yes. Yeah. Well, congratulations. Now you can get the Silver Cross. You know what I mean? Like,
it's possible because it serves a really good purpose for propaganda's sake.
That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. Just how we know for a fact that they rounded up numbers for like long service awards. Why wouldn't it be any different for the Mother's Cross?
Well, at the same time, we have to remember like this was a more stringent award criteria than most other awards. I mean, they're literally reallocating resources and administrative offices just to investigate people that are applying for this award. It is one of the more complicated award processes. So I might actually say that if people that have watched our Frauenschaft episode, we talked about all of the motherhood classes that were put on. There's like huge millions of people that attended these classes over just a handful of years. There were definitely people who were like, it's time, I'm having kids.
I don't know. I mean, there's not a doubt in my mind that there was a major push to have tons of children in Germany at that time. I totally get it. And I think that the average nuclear family at that time was much larger than the, 4.5 people in a nuclear family today in America. So, but that being said, the numbers just seem really, really high to me.
Dante was talking about like, hey, you had children that died in the 20s, but you kind of touched based on, in order to qualify, you had to have children that were deemed worthy to society. So they would have to reach a certain age to be eligible for the qualification of the award. Additionally, I agree with everything you're saying. I mean, even in the BDM, childbirth was, drilled in those little girls. Like, you're going to produce babies for the Fuhrer. And they were, there's numerous stories of them, sneaking over to the boys' HJ camp and literally having sex, underage, because that was such a core element of their thought process, is that they wanted to have babies for the Fuhrer. And that is something that absolutely happened. So, I mean, I definitely, it's crazy to me though, that from these numbers, you're suggesting a woman who had 2 children didn't even qualify for the award. I mean, sorry,
she was in training. You know what I mean?
Right.
Well, I mean, that's my whole point. It's like, well, you had 2 kids and you don't qualify for a bronze. I think a lot of local officials are just like, nah, we're gonna push it through for a bronze. And that might also explain why we don't see, or it's commonly known in the dealer circle that, and even the collector circle, that silvers are harder to come by than golds. Golds are actually, it seems to be, more common than silvers. So it makes sense that, well, if you got up to the silver numbers, right, that the local government that was in charge of, recommending you was just like, you know what, let me just give you the gold. Let me recommend you for the gold. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
It's kind of very similar to the flight clasp. Like a bronze bomber is actually like harder to find, or a bronze fighter, because they went up so quickly, they qualified for the next grade before they even got the paperwork finished. So, so it's kind of, obviously 9 months of creating a child is a little different than aerial combat. I'm just saying, it's kind of interesting. You brought that up of the grading system.
I think that this is another one of those questions of like, what do you have more faith in? Do you have more faith in bureaucracy being like inefficient and also not necessarily following the letter of the law, or do you have more faith in the fact that they ran like an incredibly, iron-fisted bureaucratic machine? So, like many state awards, the Mother's Cross came with benefits and privileges. Awardees were given preferential treatment and priority within society and public services. In Ella Schneider Hilton's memoir, Displaced Person: A Girl's Life in Russia, Germany, and America, she recounts, they were always given the best of everything: housing, food, clothing, and schooling for their children. Old people even had to give up their seats on the bus or streetcar. They were treated like royalty and with the greatest respect. No standing in line for them. At the butcher shop, the best cuts of meat would go into their baskets. A nurse or helper was assigned by the government to help them take care of the brood and arrive first thing in the morning. Mother's Cross awardees were to be honorably greeted with a salute by members of the Hitler Youth, and in the 1938 issue of the Volkischer Beobacher.
Beobacher. It means observer.
The Beobacher. That's not a word I have to say very often. You'll have to excuse me. But what they said is the holder of the Mother's Cross will in future enjoy all types of privileges that we by nature have accustomed to our nation's honored comrades and our injured war veterans. So it was a very highly esteemed award. And actually, there's an interesting thing that I was thinking about this, which is there's a common hierarchy of wear for a lot of German awards that I'm sure you guys are, we've talked about this before, medal to badge to neck award. And this is not unique only to German awards. Obviously, like international orders, you'll see this across the board. It goes from a higher class to a lower class to a higher class, graduates up how you wear it. The Mother's Cross being worn specifically as a neck award and only awarded as a neck award in the official sense, I think is another indication of like in how high of esteem it was held.
That's actually a really cool point that you bring up, the perks of having the award, the Ehrenkreuz. Like, for instance, gold party badge holders got better seating at restaurants. You walk in the door, it's like, oh, that guy, we got to take care of him. So it's kind of cool that you're saying that was, held that esteem in German society, that, wow, she holds that, let's take care of this lady.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's interesting. You might hear about that. People who collect things from the Soviet Union, you might find, veterans were entitled to use the bus system for free. Things like that. Trains were discounted rate, whatever the case may be. I don't think that you necessarily hear about it in the context of German awards quite as much, specifically not with an award like the Mother's Cross, which again is people are mostly just like, you get that for being a baby factory. So it's definitely a fun little tidbit that, like, yes, there were societal examples of how highly these people were regarded for wearing their awards out in public, or just providing proof that, they had been awarded this specific medal.
Josh, can you tell me more about this secret fourth class that you've been tiptoeing around?
Dude, this secret class, the top secret history's mysteries legendary artifact known as the Gold Mother's Cross with diamonds.
What's so secret about it?
Man, I spent the better half of today researching it and I went down a rabbit hole. So first I went to Bill P's website because he was selling one as a pure curiosity piece for like 1,500 bucks. In fact, I'll bring a picture of it up right now. So I got this screenshot here off of Bill Panagopoulos's auction website. Anybody that's been in the hobby for a minute or been to a show or just maybe encountered a loud Greek man on the street, you probably have met Bill. Um, and he sold Hitler's toilet seat. Respect the name. So I found this first, and in his description, he said, "It is believed by some that one such medal was actually awarded in 1945, but the exact conditions of the award, bearing more than 10 children or more than 15, is unknown. It's purported that this medal appeared in a prominent reference book by John Angolia, which it did. I found that too. And there are claims that records of its manufacture and the award were destroyed in the firebombing of Dresden." So this wasn't enough to convince me. And I was like, I've heard about this. I've seen people talk about it before. Obviously, it's very flashy. It has diamonds. That's and there's a certain amount of legitimacy to that. If you find one that has real diamonds in it, I mean, are you supposed to expect that it was completely faked and they used all these legit diamonds in the manufacturing process? Doesn't make any sense. But I needed to find more information. So I found another post detailing the gold cross with diamonds on germandaggers.com. And I can't say enough good things about their website when it comes to helping out with identification. But this was their example. And I think it's the exact same cross that was posted on Bill's website. So I kind of had to just move on from there.
So they say that there's no award criteria that existed or that it survived the war. They say firebombing in Dresden, knocked it all out. But who's to say, let's say you're some high-ranking golden pheasant, party member. Who's to say you don't take your wife's honor cross and go have diamonds put in it at the jewelry, and then here's your Mother's Day's gift. I made it nicer for you. Is it something like that, or is it an actual award? Because it's weird that there's no documentation that any of it existed. That's great that we found one with diamonds that survived the war. But again, how did the diamonds get there? Was it like a jeweler made thing, or was it a production issued piece?
Well, I mean, out of curiosity, I would love to see that piece under a loop because I'd be looking for some type of jeweler modifications, right? Because the golds they're gilded, right? There's a fire gilding or something on the gold ones, and then they're lacquered over that. So if there was a jeweler and they're monkeying around and adding diamonds to it, you should see a raw base metal in there, because I don't know if they're gonna actually be able to re-gild. I mean, I guess they can, but it just seems like there would be something that they would screw up in that process if you're just taking it to a jeweler to modify. Do you know what I'm saying?
It is an interesting idea, though. I had not considered the possibility that this was sort of a cultural phenomenon or a trend. If you were from a wealthy family or something, that would almost make more sense than how it's presented right now.
Because it doesn't take anything to chip out that enamel. There's people who do it all the time to do enamel repairs. You chip out that enamel and then you can, fabricate the diamonds in there, I guess.
It's hard to see that is the enamel traditional like all the other Gold Mother's crosses, or is it opaque? You can't really tell, because that would obviously, if it is different, then maybe it is something special.
It looks translucent to me. You can see kind of on the left, especially, or on its
now
right.
I do. Now that you said that, I do see it on the left there.
It looks translucent to me.
I'll just shut up. No, you guys talk for the whole podcast.
No, I think you're right. I mean, I actually think you bring up a really good point, like I said, and I was chasing down. So my rabbit hole continues here. I found a reference to the Mother's Cross in a dissertation from 2014 written by Courtney Nelson, who was an East Tennessee State University student. Their dissertation was called "Our Weapon is the Wooden Spoon: Motherhood, Racism, and War, the Diverse Roles of Women in Nazi Germany." And in Nelson's dissertation, they state, for families of 12 or more, mothers acquired the gold cross with diamonds. And I was like, oh man, finally. I found a research paper somebody wrote. They have to cite sources. So I find their source, and that claim comes from a book called A Brief History of the Third Reich, The Rise and Fall of the Nazis by Martin Wittek or Wittok. I don't know the guy personally. I did find him on Facebook. I considered reaching out, but I was like, maybe that's too much. But I got my hands on a copy of Wittek's book, And the only mention of a cross with diamonds is in an overview of the award where he quickly states, for really large families, 12 to 14 children, there was a gold cross with diamonds. And then, in an impossibly frustrating twist, this historian with highly rated books about history gives no source at all for this claim.
The source was, trust me, bro.
The source, yeah, it's
It
this perfect storm, dude, of like misinformation, right? So and then I kept looking and I was like, okay, the gold cross is also, or with diamonds, is referenced in Robin Lumsden's book, Medals and Decorations of Hitler's Germany, where Lumsden claims at least 2 examples of a gold mother's cross with diamonds set into the central swastika have been reported. They were reputedly reserved for mothers of 16 or more children, but that assertion has yet to be confirmed by original sources.
Is that even physically possible? 16? Is that if you do the math, is that even doable?
Like, you have to be
a
Catholic.
Lot of kids.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be Catholic.
You gotta be Catholic
Irish Germans
by default.
Those Irish immigrants to Germany. So, but I think it's possible that a mother's cross with diamonds was planned. I think it's even possible that one was produced, but I really, at this point, I don't believe that collectors will ever encounter a real one. Despite finding references to a gold cross with diamonds in several publications, I could find no original documentation of any award. And personally, like, I think this is such a niche topic that most authors and historians don't consider it worthy of scrutiny, which creates, like I said earlier, like that perfect storm of misinformation. It seems plausible that the German government would have established a mother's cross with diamonds, so they accept it as a fact and then repeat it. And then these authors reference the other authors who have been repeating the same thing, but nobody's referencing any actual ironclad documentation along the way.
But that's an issue we have in the hobby with everybody. Like, it's cut and paste. It's just the way we are. It is now. Everything's cut and paste.
Well, at the same time, though, there were so many awards that did have the diamonds. I mean, you have Kriegsmarine badges, obviously the Knight's Cross with Oakleys. So, I mean, that was a thing in Nazi Germany that they did do.
Done.
If the Ehrenkreuz for the Deutschen Mutter was that important and sought after and in that esteem, maybe they did have this classification system and maybe the truth is it did die in the firebombing of Dresden. I don't know, but it's kind of cool to hypothesize that. Unfortunately, that's another thing, that there's so many things in this hobby that, like, unfortunately, we just don't know yet, and might come to light someday. We don't know, what documents yet to be discovered. It's kind of a cool thing of like, maybe we'll learn someday. Always with the, oh, that never happened. And then there you go. And you see it in a period photo that somebody uncovers. And it's like, actually, it did happen,
Yeah. And well, and that's also the beauty of the internet. So if you're a listener, if you're a YouTube viewer and you're at this point in the podcast and you say, hey, man, you missed a source. I found somebody. I finally busted the myth. Or, your grandmother had 200 children in Dresden and you have one of these crosses in your house and you're like, you're telling me it's fake. I show you my family tree. It's like a mile long. Then leave a comment and let me know, because I was incredibly frustrated trying to figure this thing out. And like I said, it's my opinion now, and I don't know if you guys agree. I won't hold it against you if you don't, that these are dubious at best. And if you're just like at a military show and some guy has one, I wouldn't trust it.
Well, I mean, that's exactly why that one at auction wasn't bid on. Because I mean, at $1,500, it sounds like a steal, and someone didn't pull the trigger. No one pulled the trigger on it. So I think everyone kind of feels the same.
It is tempting though, because if you do get the real one, I mean, there's like
and the diamonds might be worth something. I mean, there may be some change there.
Yeah, pop them out. $100 cross, all those diamonds. Come on now.
Well, those little diamonds ain't worth shit.
You got to pay the rent. You got to pay the rent somehow, buddy. There are some interesting variations that collectors will encounter, though, and we're going to talk about a few of those now. Though the official statute was that the Mother's Cross was worn around the neck on a neck ribbon, it was also produced in a semi-official capacity as a miniature award. Miniature awards can be encountered in several forms, but commonly they are found mounted on a ribbon that is folded or sewn into a bow with a pinback on the reverse.
That's a beautiful picture. Did you take that?
Ooh.
I didn't. So this, I have a few pictures here to show you guys that show some of the miniatures. This is a set that I found on Ulrich of England's website. I've never done business with him personally. I've heard the name several times, but really loved the clasp on this one. Is super nice. I usually don't see them with that
with
little oak leaf clasp.
Yeah, I've never seen that before.
The acorns. Yeah.
It's very unique. And then another picture just with the clasp a little closer up.
It's a Doimer.
Oh, another picture here. I borrowed this picture from eMetals, and it shows a little bit more of a standard miniature. Obviously, it's in the case with the full size award, but it shows your sewn together, bow shaped mount with you can even see the pin back peeking up there at the top. Another picture that I found that was kind of interesting, this is from Bill's website, is one of the boxes that you would have received this award in, specifically the miniature gold award. So LDO marked, with the factory code on it. Probably harder to find the box at this point than it is to find the mini. Would you agree?
100%. Yeah.
I'm just shocked you pulled the ribbon one off eMetals, Josh. I'm a little disappointed because I think Dante and I might have 47 of those in our archives. But anyway, who is L59? Is it Bernstein? I'm drawing a blank. I don't know who that is. I apologize. That is a great box though, and I wish I had I don't think I've ever had an L59 marked miniature. So obviously it was a rare piece. And
Dude, there's still time.
Yeah.
Private purchase, exactly. Well, and they all were private purchase, which is an interesting thing, and that's why we see a little bit of variation, like we saw with the clasp. This one I got from Lakeside Trader. Again, sort of like a bone stock example that you'll see of a mini on a bow with the pin back visible on the reverse, pin back sewn onto these. So you'll also encounter them, I'm sure you guys have seen this, where the pin back is just completely missing, and it's basically just a tiny little metal on a ribbon and can't be mounted on anything. It is what it is.
That just needs the pin pushed down.
And then I found this one on Bill's website as well, which is a salesman board that features a gold mini. And
that's a dormer too.
It is a dormer. So I just thought it was an interesting thing to include because we're talking about how these things are private purchase. Well, here's your salesman board to basically show people like, well, this is if you have a Mother's Cross holder in the home, this is what we offer for that.
Fantastic stuff.
And in some cases, which I don't have pictures of here, award holders of the Mother's Cross would only wear the ribbon bow without the miniature medal attached. So these miniatures, like we were just talking about, were all private purchase items that had to be acquired from authorized suppliers, such as jewelers or directly from LDO-approved factories. So deviating from the official miniatures a bit, Dante has brought up an interesting thing earlier when we were talking about this. Miniature silver Mother's Cross on a brooch. And we had a discussion. I'll show you a picture. We had a discussion about this earlier because while these are still sold by official distributors, they are not like officially approved award in wear. Like they don't meet the criteria at all. So they are not official awards. They are essentially like a merchandising scheme, more or less. Yeah, like it's something you can buy as an extra if you want to wear this instead of wearing your mini.
Yeah, there's a lot of different patterns too. That's a beautiful one.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if the verbiage is that the full-size ones were official and then the miniatures were semi-official, and then these brooch style ones, and there's jeweler converted pin back ones too. Like these are all like, just extra ways for jewelers to make money and manufacturers to make money. But I mean, that was a thing. That pin brooch was mass produced on some scale. And it was offered in all three grades too. So
it absolutely was. And just to interject, I have a couple pictures of what you're talking about here. Here's a jeweler modified gold with the pin back on the reverse, added in a very interesting way. Like that's heavy duty hardware that you would expect to see on, maybe a military award, something like that. And that's really nicely done. Like I would love to have one of those in my collection. But also you see things like this, where it's for a lapel, a lapel device. Like that's really unique. I don't think I've ever come across one of those. They even this is likely a mini based on the size of the device, right? But doesn't even have the loop at the top. So this was never intended to be worn. I mean, it's the same type of planchette that you would have found probably on the brooch.
Right. Yeah, that was its original intention. It wasn't converted from anything.
It's for a buttonhole. It just slides down into the buttonhole.
Yeah.
Right. And then, of course, here's like a more standard enamel badge type pin back that you would expect to see on something, a party badge, a Frauenschaft badge, whatever. But same type of thing, a miniature badge affixed with the pin back, doesn't even have the loop at the top for wear, was never worn on a bow. Unofficial, but something that you could buy to basically just be like a supplement. You don't have to wear your official award out. You can get on the bus for free wearing just this.
The set.
Yeah, collect the set too. I mean, that is interesting. There's so much variation and they're relatively affordable awards. You might as well go and find all the weird ones.
Well, I mean, the weird ones sell for a premium, like the bro style ones sell for a heavy premium. So, I mean, even though they're unofficial, they're actually worth more than your official ones.
Well, isn't that always how it goes with the weird stuff? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yep.
Bill, I understand that you sent me a picture, and some of the things in your picture, we'll bring it up here. We have talked about on the show before, but I think some of them will be fresh. But just a couple examples from your own collection
Yeah,
of
this is all
women's
personal stuff.
awards.
Yeah, this is all lady Nazi stuff. Um, so from an aesthetic standpoint, the 25-year Faithful Service Cross is honestly one of the most beautiful decorations of the Third Reich, in my opinion.
I
And
agree.
also, the Mother's Cross does rank. I love a static swastika. Don't get me wrong, I really do. I think that the Mother's Cross is very beautiful, and the blue enamel, and it's just a fantastic decoration. There's another, on the right there, there's a brooch style, similar to the one that Dante had on his website that you showed previously, but also yet a little different too. So, and then I have two. There's the Frauenschaft Award. I think we did talk about, as you know, and then
Yeah, go listen to the Frauenschaft episode if you want to hear about this mystery badge.
yeah, and two other just sympathizer badges that, in my opinion, were obviously female orientated. You got flowers and beautiful petals on the bottom enamel, and then a very intricate design on the right there. But it's not something that's American in turn of the century. It's got German hardware on the back. It's not a good luck symbol. That is NSDAP related, in my opinion. So yeah,
For sure.
you show the back of them too, please, motherfucker.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, so yours is a pinback variant.
Yeah,
The
that's
Mother's
what I
Cross,
mean.
the gold Mother's Cross.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
showed one very similar to that.
Yeah.
This
those
is
are tough to
actually a
find.
cleaner job.
Yeah, I'm all about the clean jobs, baby.
I think that it's interesting. I never see the Faithful Service medal mounted on a bow. And when I was doing the research for this episode and thinking about the whole, we're wearing the Mother's Cross specifically around the neck, and is this supposed to convey a different level of importance? It's not uncommon. I should say it's not uncommon for women's awards to be mounted for neck wear. I mean, I've found other awards throughout different countries in the last 15 years that are women's awards, and they're specifically mounted to be worn around the neck. I think it's somewhat vaguely reminiscent of jewelry, which we deem to be a pretty feminine thing. But the bow is definitely the most common thing where I'm like, that is an award for a woman. Like, I think it would be in order of most common. You got bows at the top, neck below that, and then, regular awards.
You touched on jewelry. Can you zoom in on those two bottom right pieces? Or yeah, the enamel. Look at the flowering detail. I mean, to me, that's jewelry. Both of those
Yeah,
are
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, they're gorgeous. So there's a lot of, Dante was talking about, the podcast, previously getting shut down his channel because he might have said he thought something was attractive in design. And that's all I'm saying there. It's not a political ideology. It's just a very beautiful piece in its own right.
Now, this one here with the sunray enamel, I got to ask because I'm so accustomed
It's
to sunray
Austrian.
enamel being. Yes, I was going to say
Yep.
Austrian enameling techniques. They love the sunray.
I'm almost positive I got that out of Austria. I forget specifically, but I'm almost positive it came.
Oh, so I didn't know that. So the sunray style enameling is Austrian made?
Yes. Yeah, the
usually?
starburst, the way you see that, yeah, that's a typical Austrian.
I just thought it was just the way supporter pins looked. So, okay.
No, if you find Nazi Party badges from Austria as well, Austrian makers will use sunray enamel behind, or the sunray pattern behind the enamel. It's like a specifically Austrian thing.
Oh,
Correct. And
we learn something new every day.
We have found those badges with Veen as a marking, so that's kind of how we tie it all together.
Okay, makes sense.
And is yours unmarked on the reverse?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that one's not marked.
Okay. Well, it's
Sorry.
still really a beautiful piece and some unique stuff, which is great. I love to see the weird stuff. That's why we're here. So that's like pretty much that's our research on the Mother's Cross for this episode, and it's one of those awards that I think there's so many little fun facts, there's so many little interesting tidbits, and there's probably stuff that I missed and stuff that we don't know yet, which, like Billy said earlier, that's part of the fun of this hobby. If you have some interesting tidbit about the Mother's Cross that didn't get included in the show, and you're sitting at your desk right now and you're fucking fuming, you're snapping a pencil in half and just you're pulling your hair out, say how could they not talk about my grandma and her crazy story, leave a comment, because we want to hear about it, and it'd be the great thing that we could come back to later. Obviously, as more stuff comes out, there's more stuff to share, and we all benefit from that information. So, Personally, I am a fan. You know, I love women's awards, women's badges. It's a relatively affordable thing. They're not super hard to come by, especially in standard classes. And if you're not looking for one that's made out of platinum with diamonds or some bullshit like that, what do you guys think? What's your overall opinion on the Mother's Cross? How does it rank in your like hierarchy of collectability within the hobby? And how much interest do you see from your customers in Mother's Crosses, full size miniatures of, you know, more offbeat stuff? What do you think?
Well, I think it's always one of the best values in the hobby in terms of the amount of enamel work that you get for the money. Now, that being said, I feel that in recent years, the prices of Mother's Crosses have probably close to doubled. Just recently, just in my own experience, I remember not more than 5 years ago when I had uh, I got part of the Horde collection. The Horde, where was that, Billy? Where was that Horde find?
A Deschler
The
München.
yeah, the Deschler Horde find. I had like 100 bronze crosses that were mint condition, beautiful toning, like absolutely stunners, and I couldn't get rid of them for 45 bucks a piece. Ribbons, original tissue paper. Now those crosses are $100 bronze crosses all day long because of how beautiful they were. So the collectability, the value, even though they're still a good value, has gone up tremendously. Every time I get them in, they're gone. I think, well, no one's going to pay this for this cross. Boom, it sells anyway. It's one of those things where I'm constantly, right now, I'm monitoring closely to see where the market is going. People are scooping them up like crazy. So it's a great value. People love them. And like you said, Josh, earlier about we're still learning stuff about them. So there's this like weird gray foggy area that's kind of interesting about them. Like you're looking for a first pattern, or maybe you're looking for that really rare late model zinc one that's painted, which do exist. They come up every once in a blue moon. Or there's also an intermediate size in between the standard and the mini. There's actually another size that you almost never see, but was available from time to time at different manufacturing from different places. So there's all these little things we're trying to find, and Mother's Cross collectors are insane, and they have like hundreds of these crosses, and they probably have like all the variants.
I always thought it was super cool. I don't know what you would call it. Is it a jeweler's bust? The black velvet thing where they put all three grades on.
Yeah, it looks good.
It does look it looks awesome, and it's affordable. Like you could do that in theory for like 300, maybe 350,
maybe even less. I mean,
yeah, right. If you get them locally or something like that. But it's a beautiful display. I don't know if we could find one and put a picture up like here, but that would be kind of cool. I think it's a beautiful display.
Yeah.
I actually used to have one of those displays in my cabinet when I was collecting German stuff more actively, because you're right. You get this generous length of ribbon because it's supposed to be worn kind of low around the neck. You can pin a couple of them on there so that they go up, you know, kind of like scale the bust. That's awesome.
Weird.
Do people buy crosses from your website?
Yeah, I would say that's a quick seller.
Dumbest thing ever. It was so good though.
I would say that yes, Josh, I am in the military selling business, and people do come to my website to buy things, and I do sell Mother's Cross. So yes, that is a thing that exists on my website. Thank you. Very observant of you.
Hey man, I like to make sure that I ask the questions that people are going to want to ask. So like we heard Dante was having success from it. What about Billy? Is he dry in the Mother's Cross department right now? We need to know.
Dripping them crosses, and they're just moving out the door.
It is definitely, to build on what you said, Dante, I think it's a very striking award. It's one of those things where it catches your eye. Like you said, if you're a fan of enamel, it's an easy thing to say. You can transition too out of, maybe you're a party badge collector. Maybe you collect just like regular pinback enamels, and then you're like, you know what? Throw a couple Mother's Crosses in the breaker mount, because like it scratches the same itch at the end of the day.
And it brings blue into the equation, which is kind of hard to find in third rec awards. So that's another nice thing about it, I think.
Yeah,
I agree, dude. Yeah, blue's a tough one. Purple's a tough one. Enamel coloring is like fairly limited within the badges that you actually encounter. To the point where sometimes you see one of those badges that'll be for like the teachers union. It has like a little bit of green on it, and you're like, "Ooh, that's a little different."
You get excited. You're like, "Yeah, teachers union. I'll take that for $100."
I fucking love green. So, Bill, before we close out the episode, you had say an interesting exchange today with a guy sending you some emails, and I was hoping that you might want to talk about just some of the woes some of the woes of the military dealers, some of the stuff that we deal with. We've done email roundups before. We've talked about the silly things people say. I was hoping maybe this would be some good meat for you to touch base on that again.
I mean, how much time do you have, Josh? There's also that Facebook Messenger guy. We're going to talk about that dude eventually, but we'll leave him out of this one. So today, let me start out by saying, I get these emails all the time. I think real stuff is more rare than fake stuff. I think there's more reproductions than originals in today's day and age. So all day long, I get, hey, do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy this? You know, and all day long, I should just say not interested and not tell them it's a fake. I should be more, because I sound arrogant when I'm like, sorry, it's a reproduction, I'm not interested. And they're like, oh my God, well, you know, like I can't believe you know, and I'm hurting myself when I do that. And this is a prime example of, what can you show that? Okay, so the screenshot. So this guy sends me, he sent me the same email 3 times, if that doesn't help paint the picture of the individual. So I delete the other 2 because they're identical. And I said, hey, it's a reproduction. I'm not interested. And you can see my on the bottom there at 7:30 in the morning. I'm sorry, it's a reproduction. I'm not interested. And he immediately replies, it's not a reproduction. You know, why would you say something like that?
You don't seem to possess any knowledge about Nazi militaria, do you?
If you go back to the
sent
previous,
from my iPhone.
If you go back to the previous screenshot, though, he asks if it's some kind of ploy. Like, I'm going to turn around and be like, oh, I'll buy your fake cap for $40, when that is not what I'm trying to do. And if you show the cap, you'll see what a dog shit Mickey Mouse Chinese piece of shit this is. You know, it's trying to be a Daimler skull. Just, you know, the arrow logo is just totally wrong. You can go to the interior. It's brand new. They did try to get the reed piping in there. I have sold authentic Waffen-SS, you know, general's visors. So you can go back to his screenshots where he's just telling me I have no clue what I'm talking about. And obviously I can tell I've really upset this guy. Heaven forbid I not want to, I don't know, buy it and make money off of it if it was real. Like, I'm in a business to feed myself. Like, right. I like nice things in life, and how I do and afford these things is I buy militaria for a lesser amount than what I sell it for, and I make a profit.
And I can see a reply up here where it says, LOL, sir, which, by the way, nice job hitting him with the LOL. I'm always a fan of the passive-aggressive LOL. If it was original, I'd be trying to buy it off you to make a profit. Yeah. What is the possible ploy to be like, hey, man, your cap is fake. Let me waste my fucking money on it.
No, he's gonna call me and be like, Dante, I just told this guy his shit's fake. Now you swoop in and get it for $40.
Right, and there's nothing behind the scenes going on, and you can see the quality of the hat. It's a Mickey Mouse fake. It's laughable. You know, I did think about going back and just, you know, kind of fucking with the dude, because obviously he's being a total asshole to me, telling me I don't know what I'm doing, and then he starts to go in that, oh, 2 people warned him about me, but he decided to give me a chance. I mean, dude, it went on all day with this guy. It ended with he'll keep me in his prayers. So
I thought it was interesting, though. It says 2 other buyers, as
that's what it was. That's
people
what it was, yeah.
He tried to sell it to warned him about you, but they didn't make an offer on the cap either.
Yeah, that's a good point. Also, like, you got warned about Billy. You're gonna bring it up now and throw it in his face, but you also were like, hey man, can I please have some money?
Well, also the cap was left behind from a low-level Nazi officer fleeing for his life. And it's like the general, the silver pipe general, was a low-ranking officer. Like, dude, your story is so fucking far-fetched. Like, dude, and of course I showed this to you guys privately of like, dude, you got to get a load of this guy. I didn't even know we were going to bring him to the podcast, but I'm glad we did, because again, listen, the last Waffen-SS general's visor I sold for $35,000. Okay.
Woo.
That is a lot of money. So if I have a chance to buy, and I never even asked this guy what he was looking for his cap. I even, like I told you guys, I thought about fucking with him, be like, you know what, I'll give you 28,000, because I'm sure he thinks it's probably worth, I don't know, a few thousand. But if you get an offer of 28 and be like, well, you know, I did think you were not knowing what you were doing, but if you're going to give me $28,000, you know, so maybe his mood would change. I thought about doing that, but at the same time, I just didn't have the energy, and I had a lot of other shit, you know, going on today. Like, I was trying to break neon tubes on a Shelby sign. You know, I had other preoccupations. You know, I was preoccupied with other things. So anyway, I don't know if you have my cap that I sold, but it's monumentally different than that piece of shit. And you know, you can see our email exchange. This guy was just over the top.
Dude, I never claimed to be in it. So you were like, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. I'm sorry. And he hit you back with, okay, you're right. I don't know what I'm talking about, but 2 people with two unnamed strangers said you were a shyster. Fun fact about shyster, you might think it's a slur. It's not. I looked it up recently.
It's Yiddish,
and not
right?
to be trusted. I think it is.
Yes.
I don't remember. I just remember that when I looked it up the other day, I used it in conversation and someone was like, "Is that a slur?" And I was like, "Well, I don't know, but it's not." And in any case, like again, what's up with all the character assassination when just a few minutes ago you were trying to get thousands of dollars out of somebody? Like
Right.
it's a crazy whiplash effect here.
The personal attacks, that's straight where he went. Tell me, I don't know what I'm doing. And again, my reply at noon, 12:24 is like, how am I a shyster when I'm not trying to buy anything from you? You're using it in a derogatory way of like, you think I'm trying to like scam you, but I don't want your piece of shit. You keep it. You have that hat, man. I don't need that. I'll go buy real stuff. But thank you for your time. Please stop messaging me. Is kind of what I was saying, and I think he emailed me maybe 4 or 5 more times after this.
Oh my god!
About 7 o'clock in the yeah.
Then he hits you back
now.
Dude,
Yeah.
5 p.m. You've been
it went on all day.
7 in the morning.
Yeah, it went on all day with this guy.
You really need therapy, don't you? I don't know, bro. Maybe you need therapy. The deal didn't work out. Why are you wasting your time responding to emails? It's like writing an angry letter. It takes so much time for me to write a fucking email that I avoid it most of the time. I cannot imagine being like, I'm gonna keep trying to start a flame war with this dude where I have to like once again log into my fucking Gmail app or whatever.
This guy must be a hoot on social media. Does anyone know if he's on there? Holy cow.
Again, the fact that he sent me the same email 3 times, and then if you look at the background of the photos he sent, I mean, this guy, you can see how he's living, and you can tell a lot by somebody by their electronic signature, so to speak. I mean, yeah, look at this guy's house, man. Like, he's got a trash can in his fucking living room. Like, give me a break, dude.
That's a wet dry vac, and he also has a lot. He's been ordering a lot from Amazon, so he's doing well for himself.
Yeah, he probably got that hat on Amazon too.
Oh Lord.
Hey man, listen. Sometimes we need bird food. Amazon's the first place I go.
But yeah. But then I was like, hey man, why don't you ask around and maybe see what other people say? And I was not rude, but I was like, and by the way, when they tell you it's fucking garbage, come back and have the humility to be like, oh, sorry, you were totally right, and I'm a fucking piece of shit for fucking trying to make personal attacks because you didn't want to buy my piece of shit. So I don't think I'll get a message from him. I don't know. Maybe he'll want to keep going, and maybe it's just a troll, and I'm just a sucker. It was a fun interaction in an email, and I'm glad we got to talk about it.
Dude, in a right and just society, in a world where everything makes sense, he would email you back. But I just, you're right. I don't think you're gonna get it. But you know what? That right and just perfect world, that's what we're striving for. Every time we put out another one of these podcasts for you people to enjoy at home, you can learn a little bit about metals. You can bore your friends at work. You can tell your friends who don't understand your hobby and freak them out a little bit. And hopefully in time you find some more friends and your world gets a little more perfect too. And anyway, this is the end of the episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you guys learned something about the Mother's Cross today. I know I did. I also learned that it's impossible to find any information about that one with diamonds. So again, if you find some, let me know. My name is Joshua Doda. I run Queen City Military, and I've been joined this month, every day in the group chat by my buddies Dante Gambino of SMG War Relics.
Signing out, guys. Thanks again for a great episode.
And Billy Kramer of WehrmachtMilitaria.com.
Good night, everybody. Thank you. This was fun.